Welcome to History Date Night, a World War II podcast covering the Second World War in chronological order, from the opening shots to final victory. I'm Justin, and joining me is my wife and co-host, Jenny. Together we explore the people, battles, and turning points that shape the deadliest conflict in human history, one date at a time. On this episode, the most undramatic major war in history.
Hand over its defenses or face the consequences.
Gestapo considered a direct attack.
The U.S. State Department is furious. Welcome back to History Date Night. I'm Jenny. Last episode was defined by one major story, the penetration of Scapa Flow and the sinking of HMS Royal Oak. This episode is different. October 19th through 28th is what the Phoney War actually feels like from the inside. A lot happening, and none of it is the war people expected. The Western Front is quiet. France is giving soldiers leave. Britain's biggest social change is that radio sales have jumped 30% because the blackout means nobody goes out anymore. And yet, just out of frame, the machinery of occupation is running at full speed. Finland is days away from the edge, and a plan is being written that contains the seed of a very different kind of Western campaign.
I'm Justin. We've been calling it the Phoney War for a few episodes now, and I want to take a moment to actually explain what that means and why it matters. The term was coined by American Senator William Borah, who called it the Phoney War because after 6 weeks of declared war between the major European powers, essentially nothing had happened on the French-German border. No major offensive, no tanks rolling. The British Expeditionary Force is settled into positions along the Belgian border. French soldiers are receiving 8 days leave every 4 months. French Prime Minister Daladier has even eased the blackout in French cities. It is, on its surface, the most undramatic major war in history.
But the Phoney War is only phony on one front. In Poland, the occupation is accelerating. In Czechoslovakia, students are being shot in the streets. At sea, ships are being sunk daily. In Moscow, the Finns are being told their country needs to hand over its defenses or face the consequences. In Washington, a committee has just met for the first time to think about atomic energy, with a budget of $6,000. $6,000! The war is everywhere. It's just not where the people are looking. Let's get into it.
On October 19th, a Thursday, in Ankara, the capital of Turkey, a city about 500,000 people sitting in the high plateau of central Anatolia, roughly 200 miles from the Mediterranean coast. Allied commanders Maxime Weygand and Archibald Wavell sign a mutual assistance treaty with Turkey. If Turkey is attacked, Britain and France will come to its aid. In exchange, Turkey pledges to fight on the Allied side if war spreads to the Mediterranean.
Turkey matters for reasons that go back to the First World War, when the Ottoman Empire fought on Germany's side and controlled the Dardanelles, the narrow strait connecting the Black Sea to the Mediterranean. That strait is still crucial, and Turkey still controls it. Soviet ships pass through it to reach open water. German submarines could theoretically use it. Bringing Turkey into the Allied camp, or at least securing its neutrality, is a strategic priority. The October 19th treaty is the result of months of careful diplomacy. It won't last the whole war. Turkey will stay neutral far longer than anyone plans, but locking in that pledge today matters.
Also on October 19th, Germany formally incorporates Western Poland into the Reich. The region around Poznan, a major city in western Poland about 170 miles east of Berlin with a large ethnic German population, is absorbed directly as German territory. On the same day, Fall Gelb, Plan Yellow, Hitler's directive for the invasion of France and the Low Countries, is formally issued to the German High Command.
A German general named Erich von Manstein, chief of staff to Army Group A, reads the plan and is immediately unimpressed. He spends the following days drafting a sharp critique, arguing that the plan is too similar to 1914. It sends the main German force through Belgium in a wide sweep, exactly where the French and British will be expecting it, and he predicts it will bog down. Manstein's alternative idea, which he will spend the next several months fighting to get anyone to listen to, is to send the main armored thrust through the Ardennes forest, lightly defended relative to the Belgian plain. The French have left it relatively exposed, precisely because they think no one would be foolish enough to push large numbers of tanks through dense forest and steep ravines. His superiors are not interested at first. His proposal will eventually reach Hitler. October 21st, a Saturday. In Washington, the Advisory Committee on Uranium meets for the first time. You'll remember from 2 episodes ago that Einstein's letter had reached Roosevelt in October and that Roosevelt responded with, "This requires action." This committee is that action. It is chaired by Lyman Briggs of the National Bureau of Standards. Its initial budget is $6,000. $6,000 to investigate whether uranium could be turned into a weapon before Nazi Germany did. The Manhattan Project, which will eventually employ 130,000 people and cost $2 billion, begins right here in October 1939 with a committee and $6,000.
On October 20th, Pope Pius XII issues his first encyclical, a formal letter to all Catholic bishops worldwide. It's called Summi Pontificatus, which translates roughly as the Summit of the Pontificate. The document condemns racism, totalitarianism, and the violation of treaties. It specifically mourns the fate of Poland and calls the invasion a cause of lamentation for all who love justice and peace, although it does not name Germany directly.
The reaction in Germany tells you about how it was received. Heinrich Müller, the chief of the Gestapo, writes in an internal memo that the encyclical is directed exclusively against Germany, both in ideology and in regard to the German-Polish dispute. British aircraft later distribute copies of the encyclical over Germany. The Pope did not name Germany. He didn't need to. Everyone knew.
Pius XII is a complicated historical figure, criticized by some for not being more explicit in condemning the Holocaust as it developed, defended by others who argue he worked quietly behind the scenes to save Jewish lives. That debate will continue throughout this podcast as the war progresses. What's clear in October 1939 is that his first major act as Pope was to write a document that the Gestapo considered a direct attack. Personally, I think that is worth something.
One of the running stories of this week is the saga of the SS City of Flint, and it's worth following in detail because it reveals exactly how complicated American neutrality was in practice. The City of Flint is an American cargo ship. On October 9th, while sailing in the North Atlantic, it was stopped by the German pocket battleship Deutschland. A German prize crew boarded her, declared her cargo contraband, and sailed her toward Germany, flying a fake Danish flag and operating under the name Alf.
This was an incident that many Americans viewed as a major challenge to their neutrality. An American ship with an American crew had been seized by a German warship. The American crew were essentially prisoners on their own ship. The ship puts into Tromsø, Norway, for fresh water. Norway orders the German prize crew to restore the ship's proper name and markings and to leave within 24 hours. They do and decide to sail for Soviet waters.
On October 23rd, the city of Flint arrives in Murmansk. The Soviets initially interned the German prize crew, but after intense pressure from Berlin, they accepted a German claim of engine trouble, allowing the Germans to maintain control and detaining the American crew. The U.S. State Department is furious. The incident exposes an uncomfortable truth. The Soviet Union, which has just invaded Poland alongside Germany, appeared increasingly willing to accommodate German interests. The city of Flint doesn't reach American hands again until late October. It has been at sea under German control for 3 weeks.
The City of Flint story runs alongside a Gallup poll published on October 22nd and 23rd that gives a precise snapshot of where American public opinion stands. 84% of Americans want the Allies to win. Only 2% want Germany to win. But 95% are against the United States entering the war, and 62% want to help Britain and France short of fighting. That means selling them weapons, food, supplies. These 3 numbers capture the entire American dilemma. Overwhelming sympathy for the Allies, overwhelming opposition to getting involved, and a majority willing to help in ways that stop just short of combat.
In occupied Poland, October is the month the administration of conquest becomes bureaucratically permanent. On October 26th, Hans Frank, the Nazi lawyer appointed to govern the general government, the German-controlled Polish territory not directly annexed into the Reich, gave his first proclamation. This is that all Jewish males between 14 and 60 are to be conscripted into forced labor. His stated policy is unambiguous. He has declared in writing that the Poles will become the slaves of the Greater German Reich.
The physical machinery of segregation is also moving. On October 24th, the city of Włocławek, I think I got that pronunciation right. This is a city of about 70,000 people on the Vistula River, roughly 80 miles northwest of Warsaw, issues an order, effective the following morning, requiring the city's Jewish population to wear a yellow badge on their clothing. It is one of, if not, the first mandatory badge orders in occupied Poland. It will spread city by city across the entire occupied territory. This is an early step toward the system of segregation and persecution that follows.
In the Soviet-occupied zone of Poland, the eastern third of the country, running from the Bug River to the old Soviet border, what's happening is different in method, but parallel in intent. On October 22nd, the Soviets hold elections to People's Assemblies of Western Ukraine and Western Belarus. These are the Soviet names for the eastern Polish territories. These assemblies hold elections that are designed to provide democratic legitimacy for annexation. The results, predictably, show overwhelming support for joining the Soviet Union. Simultaneously, Polish currency is replaced with Soviet rubles. Polish industries are relocated to Russia. Polish education, language, and religion are systematically phased out. 2 occupations, 2 methods, 1 outcome. Poland is being erased.
On October 20th, 2,000 Jews from Vienna, the Austrian capital, which has been part of the German Reich since the annexation of 1938, are deported to Lublin, in the general government. Lublin is a city about 100 miles southeast of Warsaw that Germany has designated as a potential Jewish, in quotes, reservation. This is Eichmann's operation, now in motion. Vienna to Lublin, roughly 700 miles east, people shipped in freight cars.
The Finnish-Soviet negotiations enter their second round on October 23rd in Moscow. Finnish negotiators Juhan Paasikivi and Finance Minister Väinö Tanner are back at the table. The Finns make a counter-proposal. They will straighten the border on the Karelian Isthmus, the narrow land bridge connecting Finland to the Soviet Union, and offer some small territorial exchanges. The Soviets reject it. Their minimum terms remain what they've always been: the key defensive terrain and a naval base in Hanko, pointing at Helsinki. The second round ends on October 26th. Paasikivi and Tanner go home to Helsinki for new instructions. Both sides know the talks are failing. Finland is mobilizing its military and beginning to evacuate civilians from the border regions.
To understand what Finland is facing, the numbers are stark. The Soviet Union has a population of roughly 170 million people. Finland has 3.7 million. The Red Army could eventually bring well over 1 million men to bear against Finland. Finland's entire army is about 300,000, and many of those men are reservists who need time to mobilize. The Soviet Air Force has thousands of aircraft, and Finland has about 130. Stalin believes Finland will fold the moment he applies serious military pressure. He is about to discover that Finland is not Estonia.
In the South Atlantic, on October 28th, the Graf Spee makes a rendezvous with its supply tanker, the Altmark, near Tristan da Cunha, a group of small islands in the South Atlantic. The Graf Spee refuels, takes on supplies, and transfers the surviving crews of ships it has sunk, prisoners who are now held aboard the Altmark under guard. The hunt for the Graf Spee is spreading from the South Atlantic into the Indian Ocean. 8 Allied hunting groups, 3 capital ships, 4 carriers, 16 cruisers, and they haven't found her yet.
On October 28th, a Saturday, this day is Czech Independence Day, the 21st anniversary of the founding of Czechoslovakia in 1918. In Prague, thousands of people, mostly students, take to the streets in quiet, peaceful commemoration. They carry flowers, and they gather at national monuments.
The German response is armored cars and clubs. Violent clashes break out in the city center. Sudeten Germans attack Czech demonstrators with pistols, clubs, and rifle butts. More than 3,500 people are arrested and packed into Prague's prisons. One of the demonstrators shot is a medical student named Jan Opletal. He is taken to the hospital with a bullet wound. He will die on November 11th. His funeral on November 15th will turn into another demonstration. And the German response to that funeral will be to close every university and college in the Czech lands, send over 1,000 students to concentration camps, and execute 9 student leaders. All of that is still coming. Right now, on October 28th, Jan Opletal is in a hospital bed and the fuse is lit.
Also, on October 28th, Himmler issues the Lebensborn decree, urging SS men to father children with women of, quote, good blood outside of marriage to, quote, regenerate life for Germany. The decree promises that the SS will support any such children regardless of legitimacy. The program would later become associated with the systematic kidnapping of children from occupied countries who met Nazi racial criteria. Estimates of the number of children taken range widely, with many tens of thousands affected.
A few grace notes from the week. On October 24th, nylon stockings go on sale to the public for the first time in Wilmington, Delaware, home of DuPont, the company that invented them. Within a day, the stores are sold out. On October 22nd, NBC broadcasts the first televised NFL game, the Brooklyn Dodgers beating the Philadelphia Eagles 23-14 at Ebbets Field in Brooklyn. The telecast is available to approximately 500 television sets in New York and on monitors at the World's Fair. Leon Trotsky, living in exile in Mexico City after being expelled from the Soviet Union by Stalin, tells reporters this week, quote, Stalin is afraid of Hitler and is right to be so. Trotsky will be assassinated by a Soviet agent in Mexico City in August 1940.
So, to wrap up, Turkey is allied with Britain and France. Plan Yellow has been issued and a German general has already identified its potential flaws. The Uranium Committee has met for the first time with $6,000. The Pope has written a letter that the Gestapo considers an attack. An American cargo ship has spent 3 weeks under German control. The occupation of Poland is becoming permanent and systematic. Finland's negotiations have collapsed and its reservists are mobilizing. Czech students are in hospital and prison for marking their country's birthday. And somewhere near the most remote island in the Atlantic, a German warship is refueling in secret while 8 Allied hunting groups search for it. The Phoney War is quiet on one front, but it is not quiet anywhere else.
Next episode, the Finnish-Soviet talks make their final, fatal breakdown, and the Winter War begins. Well, thanks for joining us for episode 10 of History Date Night. We'll see you next time.
See you then.